Hey, gang, coming up on our Finding Better podcast, Danny Carpio is joining me. And we're going to talk about this is so cool. We're going to talk about how artificial intelligence is changing the future of work and the kinds of things that you and I can be doing to get ahead of it. Whether you know it or not, we are in the process. We're right in the middle of a transformation of our world. And AI is opening up all different kinds of opportunities that we've never known existed before, where we can do things ourselves that were limited to big companies, right? AI is enabling us to do it and empowering us. We just have to open our eyes, open our minds, get a little bit curious, and we're going to talk about how to do that. Okay. AI is not an event, it's an opportunity to transform your life. Okay, share this, please. Share it. Give someone hope out there. Uh, it's amazing. Here we go. Hello, 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 and welcome back to our Finding Better podcast. My name is John Suzuki, and I am your host. And this is where we share real life experiences of people who've been there and done that. Because, sometimes the best path to success is to follow in the footsteps of people who have been there and done what you're trying to do. And so, my guest today is Danny Carpio. Danny, welcome to Finding Better podcast.
Thank you so much, John. Great to be here. I'm really excited to chat with you.
We're going to have a great conversation because we're going to talk about artificial intelligence, okay? And we're going to talk about it. Don't hang up. If you heard that and your immediate knee-jerk reaction was, "Oh my God, this is going to be too complicated," stop. Okay, we're going to dumb it all down to the extent that I can understand it, and it's going to be real information, right? Because we're living in this world, this world rising of this new technology called artificial intelligence. And I'll tell you, AI, a lot of people are afraid of it, but AI is opening up new opportunities for all of us every single day. Danny, you're nodding your head, so I guess you agree with me. But it's just amazing. And so we want to give you a little bit of a perspective about how artificial intelligence is changing the future of work, right? And what we should be doing today and what we can be doing to stay ahead. So, Danny, love having you here. We're going to have a wonderful conversation. Now, you're in the process of publishing a book called The Unfirm, right? The new unit of scale is you. Now, that sounds really cool because, this is a podcast that talks about the individual, right? How individuals can find ways to find better in their lives. So what do you mean by that? Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, John, thank you so much. That opener makes me think we might run longer than we thought on this one because you
We
just
got a lot to talk about.
that's so
Yeah.
it's so true. But I think just with respect to the question, um, I think that there are some perspective challenges that people have that I really wanted to help bridge the gap
Hmm.
of because the reality is. Uh, People are landing too much on a take. I think people think that AI is something you just have an opinion on, like it doesn't impact them, right? But it's it's not that. You can't treat it like a current event, right? It really is a transformational technology, right? And one of the biggest ways that it is changing what we are capable of doing is by making scale relevant to us while simultaneously disrupting how the labor trade that we have uh, been so familiar with and thought was safe and reliable. Um, because the other side of that marketplace is that owned scale, where scale was relevant, the owner side of the labor trade. You have a job, the other you're transferring risk to them for perceived comfort, right? That's it's a high level, but that is what how I would categorize the labor employment relationship with the equity owner who is responsible for scale, where scale is relevant to the ownership side. and compounding lives there, leverage lives there, operating leverage, getting more for
Right.
less.
Right.
All of that exists on that side. So that is sort of the foundational component to say that scale is relevant for you now when it wasn't before, because for the most part, we have all been structurally uh, kept out of uh, having scale even matter to us, right? We just go into a labor market where we are arbitraged, and then we transfer risk and upside and scale to the ownership side of the trade.
Okay.
And
Okay. So let me just distill that down to make sure I understand what you just said. The labor market, which has been in place for 150, 200 years, right, has been employer and a whole bunch of employees, right? An
that's right.
employer hires a bunch of employees to get more production out of whatever they're trying to do, to get more scale out of what
Yes.
they're trying to do. And so, one example of scale is instead of buying one of something, if you buy 100 of something, you get by unit measure those 100 things at a lower cost than if you just bought one, right? That's kind of, I mean, that's a very simplified version of what scale means and why scale has been on the employer side. And we can go into an entire conversation about how the whole work relationship and how work is structured these days is built at I mean, it's designed, right, to advantage the entrepreneurs, the people who are doing the hiring. and and what I think you're saying is today we have the opportunity to flip that model, right? To
That's right.
where the individual worker can be advantaged.
Yeah, and so I will say that it's an opportunity and also a an urgency to it
Yes.
because let me just unpack how they achieved scale and why
Yeah.
people were
Okay.
structurally
Yeah.
kept out of it, right? So from the perspective of achieving scale, that's what the dominant manner of doing that required the ability to scale time with labor with other humans and competency and capability with a labor force, right? And then being able to coordinate them, keep institutional knowledge and grow it, and then compound and gain our operating leverage such that you can go compete in your market and win. Okay, and
Hmm.
so it's very challenging, and it was those old structures were very effective at it. They won. It won. It was good. The dependent risk trade worked for so long on that employment relation because it was so good, and other people bore the risk, and some people don't like to bear the risk, and that's totally normal and fine. Now, what is changing is that the things that your employer, that structure that they're so good at, that the things it bundled, the scaled inputs to get those unit economics or to scale
Hmm.
your distribution, whatever you need
Hmm.
to put together to get a scaled outcome that's competitive for you. Um, those things that it was so good at are not the hard things anymore. So there's a form function issue, is that those things are now easy and we can do them. Now, that doesn't mean that scale is easy. In fact, I think it's harder now, but it means that we're no longer locked out structurally by the old form that was required to achieve the scale. The scale no longer belongs to that structure.
And
It
scale and scale isn't necessarily expensive anymore,
no, no,
right?
but it's
I mean, that used to be,
100%.
yeah, that used to be one of the impediments to market was cost. And now all
Yes.
of a sudden, in a lot of ways, AI is taking that away.
Yes. And so to your point before, which was very true, is where to who can capture the upside now? Now it's way more people. It's mass democratizing scale because now we're no longer blocked out of it structurally, but it is still incredibly hard. And there's a competency gap between what uh, people are used to with their relationship with their economic output, where they need to know how to do those things that those old structures did. You still have to be able to do those functions. It's just where you do them now lives in other places and how you interact with end markets. So everything is now you're bearing a lot more of the responsibility of the day to day and of the design and of the risk management
Yeah.
and of coordination. And so those things are not easy, but we have to get good at them because the
Yeah.
other side of that labor trade that you think is creating a safe environment for your stable job, they don't need you anymore, and their competitive markets are driving costs down, and they're trying to arbitrage
Right.
technology.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
I have, oh my gosh, Danny, I have never heard it explained that way. That is so cool. And for folks, if you're listening, rewind this part of the tape and listen to that part again, because it is so relevant to the world that we're in and the world that we're going to get into more.
Yes.
And let me give I'll just give you a quick example, okay? Because I'm getting all geeked out about this. Okay, so um, in the old days, when websites first came out, they were freaking expensive, right? And when they started, only large corporations could afford them. And then it came, then the technology curve and the scale curve came down, and it became more and more affordable. And fast forward to this moment right now, where before a website could cost tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, I just built my own website for less than $100. And if you want to see it, just go to johnsuzuki.com. Okay. It'll blow your mind away. So you're going to go, Suzuki built that? And I built it, maybe spending an hour and a half a night for 2 weeks. And, it is exactly what I want. It is my design. It is my photos. It is my content. It is just, and for less than $100. And so now all of a sudden, to your point, Danny, little old me has a website that does exactly what I want it to do, and I can scale it.
Look, how awesome is that? Now, I think what we that's a great example, and if you'll let me, if I take us off the rails, you just put me right back on. But
Yeah, go. I
I want
like
I
going
want
off the
I
rails.
want I want to unpack this because that is the perfect example to show how you are empowered and acting economically rational in a way that it is leveraging things that are now possible that weren't before to
Right.
be able to go to market. But what you actually did on the other side is a designer that you didn't need. That was a constraint for you is
Yes.
someone else's job, right? And so on. Whatever else you need, the web builder, everything else that was needed in there to do the code, to do the front end and the back end, and then maintain it, right? Those are those are markets that were constraints to someone before, both on time and on the capital, right?
Right.
Um, so now those people that did that, you kind of replaced them and you took things further. Now, that's not a bad thing. It's kind of how it always has been. I do that every day. I think everyone does that every day.
Sure.
I'm bringing this up because to our point before, it's not like morally horrendous that these large companies are doing it. The issue and why we have to pay attention to it is that they are systemically important. There's like this too big to fail dynamic because they are the dependent pillars of the structural labor trade that everyone depends on. We're talking about
Right.
100 million people. So there's systemic blast radius when they do what you and I do, right? It's awesome that can do that. Anyone can do that. That's the best part.
Right.
When the system does it and there's dependency on it, you now have risk where you didn't think it was there.
Right. Right. Which is what people are living today because,
Yes.
4 years ago, these kids that entered college thinking that they were going to get their computer science degree and walk out with a six-figure salary from Google, Apple, Amazon, or Meta or whomever, right? They're walking out of college now with their diploma in their hand going, where is everybody? Right? Because those big companies aren't hiring entry-level people anymore. I mean, that happened in 3, 4 years. And so now to what you're referring to, the job market is changing,
Yes.
right? In a very, very big way. Now, one of the things that I didn't mention is that I built this website, but I built this website because of AI. Okay, I used a tool that a friend of mine at GoDaddy told me about. It's called Airo, AIRO. Go look at it. And you pay for what do they call those things? Tokens or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
right? You pay for tokens, and the thing you tell it what you want, and then it comes back and goes, "Is this what you want? No, this is what I want. Oh, is this what you want? No, this is what I want. Is this what you want? Yeah, you're getting really close, right?" And it's as easy as that. And it's really cool. And that's all because of artificial intelligence. And again, just go to johnsuzuki.com. You'll see it. It's wonderful.
I think
So
I'm gonna do that right now.
yeah. Okay.
But we can keep going. I'm just messing around.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so yeah, so um oh my God. Okay, so what does the future of work look like? Right?
Yes, the best follow up, because I had to bite my tongue on where I wanted to take what you just said about the software engineers and all that. I think it's super exciting, but also incredibly challenging because there are a lot of interests at play here, and I like to say that they need you to replace you, but they already lost. And so, in other words, they need, in order for them to survive, they need to pull out uh, what the labor force did from them, which a lot of it is right here,
Mm-hmm.
institutional knowledge, right? We can call it that.
Right.
And then they have to codify that and systematize it before you replace their function in your life. And so, for the first time in a long time, I'm only 40, and we only know what we know, but um, there's a level of game theory going on right now that that we can only infer based on how people are acting, because what they're saying is not matching up with how with what they're how they're acting. And so I think we need to look that they are structurally changing how they even do stuff. Okay, like we talked about scale before and how there was an old way of doing it. They have a big old ship. Okay, they have an
Yeah.
old loaded. They have structural debt, is what I like to call it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when everything moved differently, how they coordinated that and what was hard, it all changed. So now they're leaning it up. What is the most efficient way to do it? And so they're trying to do it while keeping their old incentive structures. And so they're gutting the management layers, like what Jack Dorsey said. I think he wrote it really well. Cloudflare, they wrote really, they articulated what they are doing organizationally very well, and making it clear that in order for them to maintain scale and compete in their layer where they compete, they need to operate fundamentally differently around what they would call like pods or 10x, 100x developers, whatever that is. They want 10x high agency employees that they can
Mm-hmm.
arbitrage. So they need less of those. Now, that
Right.
is an immediate ripple effect. And where this goes to the future of work, I think, is what's going to be really interesting is, of course, leading indicator, they're doing it. That means I can do it, and it means it's probably optimal, because they wouldn't do it if their capital wasn't at risk or their future existence. And then number two is what happens when those units no longer need them anymore and they don't want to be arbitrage anymore. Maybe they're 1% equity owners, if they have any equity at all. They have a great salary and you just paid them, and now they don't need your money. And now they can just realize, oh, I'm going to go do it myself. I think it's going to unbundle at that point. It's going to be very challenging for 2 to 3 years. A lot of displacement, because there's like a product market fit for the labor trade. Like, people got to find their new way. I'm confident they will, and things will stabilize for the labor force, and people will be empowered. We'll have a lot of unbundling of large structures that won in the marketplace, replaced with smaller structures that are now optimal, and then they will rebundle, kind of like Netflix, how everyone unbundled, and now I'm so close to going back to my cable provider because they're going to bundle my asset for
Yeah,
less.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I think
that's right.
some version of
That's right.
that over longer time.
That's right. Okay, so I got a couple of things I want to say to that. That was awesome. I mean, I mean, you're blowing my mind in a couple of ways. All right, so I have always said, well, not always. I mean, since the rise of ChatGPT and the last few years, I believe that, we're here today, and this is going to be our world 5 to 7 years from now. Okay. 5 to 7 years from now, things are going to be amazing. They're going to be absolutely amazing. Nobody knows what the world's going to look like. And if anybody tells you that they know what the world's going to look like, walk away, because they don't. Nobody does. Now, if we go from where we are today and we survive the next 5 to 7 years, like I said, it's going to be amazing. But the thing that we got to get through, folks, is the messy middle between now and then. And that's what Danny's been talking about, right? And that's what you've been talking about.
That is.
You said something that is wonderful. I wrote it down, and I'm paraphrasing. When it comes to companies, they need to replace you in their life before you replace you in their life. Now, what I read from that, and what's very meaningful to me, is that we all have an opportunity to walk away from our jobs, to build value in ourselves. And of course, the company is trying to use the same technology that we can use for ourselves to lower their costs of production and and the most expensive thing in any company is people, right? So they need to replace you in their life or from their life. They need to replace you from their life before you replace you in their life. And the really cool thing about that statement is that we can.
Yes.
It's a statement of empowerment.
Absolutely. I think when you really look at it, and this is why I, I'm an optimist. I am a
Totally.
free market optimist, and so I think anything that lowers barriers to entry uh, is good for markets. It creates opportunities for people that can go compete on the merits. They can build stuff fast. It things get things out of the way, and I think people are incredible. I work with people all the time. I'm a network builder, and so I work with people. I've seen what they can do. It's usually way more than they think. But generally, they have to change their perspective on stuff. And so,
Yeah.
and I have to meet people where they are. And the vast majority of people are stuck on the perspective with AI and the role in it. And they get stuck at the take as if this is a current event instead of like a transformational technology, right? And then they don't see how the world is changing around them on the dependent structures. And so I really I don't like to spook people. I think it's important that they at the least entertain comments like what I'm saying, and if they don't agree on them, it'll force their brain to start thinking about it, and then they'll see how it
Absolutely.
applies. You know?
Yeah, and folks, you can agree or disagree to what anything Danny's saying, but here's the thing. He's putting it out there and sticking it in your mind, right?
Yes.
And study it. It's okay to call bullshit on him, but just understand why you're calling him bullshit on him. I mean, he's a very studied guy. He's an attorney by trade, and and so far, I have to tell you, I haven't disagreed with anything he said.
Yeah. Well, look, I appreciate that, and I think that I think um, I think people need to just look again at everything. It's really hard for all of us. Look, I'll tell you, if this, I'd be lying if I said this is easy for me, right? But I have designed systems around me such that I can try to catch myself. I have feedback loops, and so I have sort of, is it really though? I do have a certain self-questioning mechanic, just because you know, um, being smart is not like what it used to be. Like also like what you're smart at and what you're smart about as far as what is relevant is changing, and so the
It,
value of predictive like the predictive elements of the past of what smart intelligence, that's totally different now. So what is valuable smart in the future? I think a lot of people who think it's not going to impact them are not aware of that risk either. It's everywhere, and
right.
that's when I say it's a transformation to technology. It's that the delta that you had that made you competitive, whether you were smart. Look, I was always an A- student, and I didn't work very hard. I just worked hard enough to get A-, basically. Sometimes I'd get a B+, but that was
I was a
okay.
C+ student, and I
Yeah,
worked my ass
yeah.
off.
And but I never tried it for an A+ because I was never going to work as hard as that person, right?
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing: is the value of me just being able to do something a little more efficiently because I can process fat. I think that's less of a competitive advantage. I'm like the things that made me compete against my peers so effectively. I now have to move them to the application layer. I now have to apply it better because it brought everyone closer. You see what I'm saying? And so
Yep,
we have to be
totally.
humble, deep humble pie. What worked before it's not going to work again. We have to apply it better now. But I'm confident I can. And I know I can. I'm out there competing with everyone. We're all doing it, right? And I want to help people in a positive some way. But for the most part, that's the order.
Yeah, yeah. I one of the things I share is that I've been in technology since 1984. I'm old. I get that. Okay,
That's awesome.
I started my career with IBM in 1984, and through that entire time, whatever it is, 42 years, I've shepherded in all kinds of new generations of technology. From mainframes to PCs to the internet to mobile to blah 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 e-commerce. And every generation that has happened, we've gotten smarter and smarter and smarter. But now with the rise of AI, um, well, I believe that AI is going to drive what I call a renaissance of heart. Because as we've gotten smarter, we've forgotten our heart. And I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it because the one thing that AI will never be able to replace is our humanity, right? As who we are as human beings. And that's the biggest opportunity that I see here. It's wonderful. I mean, if we can grab onto that and really do stuff to I mean, to build stuff to make the world better than the day we landed on it. I mean, how cool is that? And we can do it.
So that's 1000%. I completely agree. And I think what people uh, miss is that that is the successful way forward, that you don't have to be paralyzed by it. Is your authenticity is the most scarce thing. Like, I find myself um, wanting to work with people, and I have been working
Mhm.
remotely with pleasure for years. I see like deep fakes, and I talk to AI, and I'm like, this just does. I don't like this. Is I don't like it. I don't like it. I want a person. And what's really interesting about what you just said, well, everything you said was interesting, but um, I I think people want authenticity, and so
Yeah.
part of what your value can be to people is inherently human interaction. Is we can go
Yes.
express ourselves locally. We don't, and not everything has to be AI. In fact, most things don't need to be AI. I think the lie of AI is people are selling you stuff just that's maybe in a month going to be much easier, that you don't really need to do, or they're just will do on Claude something that looks like it used to be expensive, and then get the margin. But what is, I think, more sustainable is to not think you have to go follow every bright light. Go locally and just go meet people. Go talk to people, your neighbors. Go to the coffee shop. What are they building? Their computers open. We live by a lake, and I call it Silicon Lake. It's a joke. It's a small lake, a man-made one, but there's a hustle and bustle. I've met a ton of great people. You can add value to them. Discover what people will now pay for. You are good. Someone paid you for something before, but now a lot of people are trying to replace what they paid you for with technology, or a combination of a lower capable person that's cheaper with the technology, some version of that. But uh, there are still markets that people will pay for how you apply this technology, with what you already know that you are probably a 1% a knower of, right? We are all our unique
Yeah.
experts. Yeah. And so you can express that locally. Go meet people, And
Totally.
so I think there's
Totally.
like the human element is going to be critical to success.
It's totally going to be critical. And the thing is, I mean, you look around. I mean, just the Surgeon General of the United States said that loneliness. You talk about getting out and meeting people and talking to people, even at a local level. Loneliness is at pandemic levels. I mean, it is growing, and people are more lonely today than ever before. And what if we, I mean, we got the technology to bring people together. The problem is that media came out, lots of unexpected whatever consequences. But it could have been the most one, and in some ways it is a really wonderful, life-changing technology. But boy, it sure screwed up a lot of people too in the meantime, right? And so, what if we can all create and become part of something where we're bringing the world together? We're I mean, having fun, for crying out loud. I mean, the world is so divided these days, and it just I really like your perspective of how people are looking at the AI opportunity, and I do call it an opportunity, folks. The AI opportunity as an event than a potential transformation. Because, I mean, we've talked about a number of different things, Danny, as examples to what that transformation can look like. I mean, you name it, it'll be transformed. And,
Yes.
there is some urgency to it. I'll also just say that, one of the other things about getting so smart we've forgotten our heart is that, the world, as you talked about, you being an A-minus student and me being a C-plus student, right? Is that the world has always focused for decades on IQ, on intelligence quotient, right? Well, now we're starting to realize there's an EQ, an emotional quotient. Now we're starting to realize, and it's absolutely been documented and proven and researched that our heart has its own intelligence and our gut has its own intelligence, right? And so now, I'm really stoked about helping people understand that, right? And being able to live um, as you are as a whole person.
Yeah, live fully, right? I think we can take let's run with this for real quick because I'm having a you're triggering thoughts here that
Okay, yeah, 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 yeah.
I feel like you're a person I can bounce this off of, so I hope that
Cool.
it's gonna make sense. But um, okay, so here's I think a fundamental issue is that we are bombarded with information,
Oh
and
God,
I think
yes.
for the most part, people are just because of social media and how interaction what is favored and is having takes. Just having an opinion seems to be where people stopped, and we have a real dearth in critical thinking.
Oh God, yes.
And so what how that is manifested, right, is that people now fear other opinions because they just want the opinion and they can't critically analyze and accept other people how people got there. And so the critical and it's hollow. There's a lot of hollow
Yep.
and so I think that that's the risk here, and you kind of are expressing it in a really powerful way because you're talking about living fully. We have to think fully too, express it through productivity, take it out of our mind, and put it into action. So we have to prompt our environment, right? I think people are kind of like kids don't play outside. Humans, we have to go. You can't be scared. You have to take a step. You have to create feedback from your environment. And now AI is part of that environment. And then we have to be able to critically assess operating realities, right? So once we can know how we are biased towards it, because we want to believe there's a bunch of biases, we have to, that's just, we can be a mess if we just rely on how we feel about stuff. But if we can know that we have our own biased way of looking at it and have feedback inform us on operating reality that we are in, and then take step by step and always have that feedback loop, that's like a how for what you just said, which is like that full body experience towards having purpose and building things that matter to you that are actually valuable in economic sense as well.
That is so incredibly powerful. And because as I was listening to you, I wrote a couple of things down. The thing about critical thinking is that technology and algorithms has basically pounded critical thinking out of our heads. And what I mean by that is that, the algorithms are watching what you're looking at. And folks, please listen to this because there's so much, this is so relevant to all of our lives. The algorithms out there, Google, Facebook, name it, they're keeping track of what you're looking at. And what their business is to keep your attention. That is their business. Okay. Now, guess what's going to keep your attention? What's going to keep your attention is the things that you're interested in. So they're going to keep feeding you the things that they think you're interested in. If they think that you're interested in being right about purple people suck, guess what it's going to feed you? It's going to feed you stuff on purple people sucking, and it's going to reinforce it over and over and over again. And so, Danny, and I may be wrong. I don't think I am because I see it happening in my life and on my cell phone, on my computer every freaking day because we're bombarded by information. And I mean, it's kind of evil out there in a lot of ways, right? But what you're talking about is breaking that cycle. And that's why I feel like what you just said, and again, folks, please rewind and listen to what he said again, is so powerful. And the other thing I'll tell you on the other side is that one of the things that has been absolutely driven out of us since we were kids is curiosity, right? Whether it's a loved, I mean, my dad, oh my God, I'm sure it was fully unintended, but things like that's a stupid idea, or who's gonna that's just dumb, right? Why that's a stupid question. And so I just feel like one of the really powerful things that I would like to find a way to empower people to do is to get curious, right? Start building that muscle. Start asking the stupid questions. There's no such thing as a stupid question if you learn from it, right?
Yes.
And build that curiosity about okay, here's the opportunity. Here's an opportunity. Get curious about AI. Get curious of how can this thing ask it. Go to ChatGPT and say, how can you help me improve my life? It'll give you idea. I mean,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. Look, I think absolutely, and I think curiosity is upstream from hope, right? And so, and a possibility. And so I say that because it goes back again to where I think there's a perspective. I'm trying to hammer through right now. There's perspective issues, and I don't mean like agree with my perspective. I mean relook at your perspective because everything you thought was true is
Right.
changed in some way, shape, or form. Um, and so you have to then navigate that. But when you look at it, right, and then you the perspective goes into hopeful optimism about what is now possible, the mass democratization. Curiosity will thrive in that environment alone. Otherwise, I think it's really hard to be curious.
Yeah. Yeah. And and the thing about it being hard is, one step is to give yourself permission to be curious. Okay? And just know that, if whatever you do, if you learn from it, keep doing it. And like anything, it's a muscle, right? The more you use it, the better you're going to get at it. And so, but I feel like for a lot of us, Danny, that muscle is atrophied, right?
Yeah,
Because we haven't been allowing ourselves to activate that curiosity muscle.
yeah,
And here you and I are saying, folks, now's a really great time.
yeah.
Now's a really great time.
It's great and necessary. I
Yeah,
think like the attention that I thought that your framing was so good because people are fighting for your attention. That doesn't mean the information they are giving you to get it is good for you. And so
right.
I think if you say like, oh, I don't have time for this, we probably have more time than you think you do. It's just where are you spending it. I think maybe if you find yourself doom scrolling, maybe just put your phone down. I do this with myself. Look, this is what I pick it up and I'm like, why did I pick it up? Oh, I'm stressed. I'm anxious. I'm trying to avoid a thought, right? So I put it back down. I think if just having that self reflection, because I think it's so easy. It's like dopamine. But if we can make it a habit to try to do that, we give the space to then replace that attention. The
Oh
marketplace
my
returns. We
God.
give it back to
Yes.
ourselves, right?
Yes. Yes. And if we, what is it? Something abhors. Uh, anyway, there's a saying that says,
I'm horrible at sayings.
yeah, basically saying that wherever there's a space, it will be filled with something, right? And
Yes.
so, and so I loved what you just said. Put your damn phone down. When my son and my daughter and her husband, and uh, every night they have dinner and every night we're there, um, we put all technology away, right? And we have a conversation. There are no phones at the table. We're having a conversation with their 2-year-old, their 6-year-old, and their 8-year-old. And it's amazing,
That is amazing.
right? And I mean, just take moments, and when before you go to bed and you're laying in bed, don't look at your phone.
100%. And look,
It'll
let me
be
tell
there
you,
in the morning.
this is real. This is real. And maybe like a good analogy, because I think people listen to stuff and don't think it applies to them. And so but the concept of like shower thoughts, people are like, oh, when I'm in the shower, I have great
Yeah, yeah,
thoughts.
yeah, 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 yeah.
That's what we're talking. Why? Because it's just you in the water, right? And so that's the whole point. It already happens. We have to give space for it. A lot of my best, I'll, you know what? I'll go out and say almost every good idea I have from a productivity standpoint happens in an environment where I'm not doing anything. If I've been overstimulated and stuff, I put my phone down. On Sundays, we go to church and I do a 24-hour detox if I can on my phone, right? Uh, it sets up my entire week. I just don't stare at my phone. I spend time with my family, and we go to church and read the Bible, do that stuff. And then I just sit. I enjoy my kids. I let the overstimulation not be a thing. And then what happens? My shower thoughts. It's just, we all are capable of that. That's, everyone can do that. It's human. That is a human superpower we have, that if we give room for our brain, it will do its thing. We have to let it do its thing, not let other people always stimulate it so it does their thing.
Shower thoughts.
Shower thoughts.
Okay, what I was thinking when you said shower thoughts, I was thinking, well, I do toilet thoughts. And
Yes, so do I. I do those too.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing about toilet thoughts. With toilet thoughts, you can be on your phone. You can't be on your phone in a shower, right?
100%.
It's a force function. So
Yes.
I love that. Try it, folks. Right? When you're in the shower, I mean, just clear your mind and just whatever. And thinking of clearing my mind, one of the things that I try mightily to do every day that I really suck at, I suck at it, is meditation.
Hmm.
I try to sit down in a quiet place. I do this every morning. I wake up at 5:30 and I just sit there and I'll just try to clear my mind. But as I'm trying to clear my mind, all this stuff comes into my mind, right? And
That's
it's
part
like,
of it.
wait, stop. And I'll tell you, every day I do this, something comes into my mind that's a great idea that makes me stop meditating. Is that what you're talking about?
Look, absolutely. In the process of focusing on what your mind is doing,
Yeah.
and and letting it flow through, will clear out the waste. It's like clearing our cache, right? Our brain
Yeah.
needs
Yeah.
it, and then suddenly you find yourself in this spot, and the noise isn't coming in, and so you let the right things come in. I think, and so a meditative practice, I think 1000%. I spent a lot of my years in law school meditating. My dad was a deep practice. He taught me to meditate in high school, and so I was off and on, just like young kids are, right? But absolutely, you clear your mind of the noise, and all the gunk and all the stuff, and then you just let your brain do its thing.
Let it do it. Oh my God.
Let it do its thing. Our brains
Yeah.
will do things.
Yeah.
That's why
Yeah.
we're here,
Yeah.
because our parents let their brains do their thing. They weren't bombarded by these things, generation after generation. The only reason I'm here is because my parents' brains did it, and the only reason you're here is because your parents did it too, and God's grace. And so, what else is there? Things, you have to allow for things to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. So that saying I was talking to you about, I just looked it up. Nature abhors a vacuum,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
Wherever there's an empty space, nature is going to fill that damn thing up. Wherever you
Mhm.
have an empty space in your mind, your brain is going to fill it up,
Yes.
right? So if you open it up and let your brain, the human brain is just crazy. It's wonderful, but give it a chance. Give it a
Yeah,
chance.
totally.
And it can be amazing. And we're living in a time, folks. Oh my gosh, the time we're living in right now is so exciting. And I try, when I talk to people we talk about artificial intelligence, more people are going, oh my gosh, yes, this is wonderful. I took a picture of my house and of my living room, and I asked ChatGPT to redesign it, and it comes up with it's just wonderful in a lot of ways, right? But then there's other people, and of course that's just scratching the surface. But then there's other people who go, oh no, 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 I don't believe in it. There's deniers, right? But just get curious, folks. Just get
Let,
curious.
let me show you if I can. And I know we're going long on time, but your example, right? Because I think people don't think this is relevant to them, like with scale, right? I think what you just said about our
Yeah.
brain, I think people are, don't think it's relevant to them because what's it going to accomplish? I just work here, I do that. But it is now relevant because you can't, if you do that, you can now achieve those things. And so you have to listen to, like what you just said is so powerful, but only if you think it's relevant to you. And I'm telling you that it is relevant to everyone now. Maybe it wasn't before and you could get by without it being relevant, right? Your example of the chat GPT person with the design room, that's a person who is probably already good at design. Look, you're not going to be a good designer just because of AI. That person's
Right.
already good at something. AI made it able to be visualized much faster. Now, people probably already asked that person, for help. But now, what do you do when you can create interior design with AI because you're already really, really good at it and people already come for you? You have a business, my friend. And so that scale becomes relevant to you.
Yeah,
And so
that's
I think
right.
tying it back together, this is all relevant now. Things that weren't relevant are relevant. And so I think that's really important.
And I'll end with this. Learning is cumulative, folks, right? As you're learning about AI, I was listening to a guy. I don't remember what his name was, but he was the original business partner director for Google. And he was talking about, among other things, the value of a college education these days. And he was saying that people can make themselves more valuable today by sincerely immersing themselves in artificial intelligence for 4 months over a 4-year degree. Because if people are using AI, learning AI, building stuff with AI, applying AI, helping other people with AI, helping other people do stuff with AI, understanding what some of the different things are that they could never do before, at the end of 4 months, they're going to end up with a portfolio of experience that's actually going to be marketable. And I just sat back and I went, holy cow, right? And that can, and you don't have to pay $50,000 a year to do this. Just
Yeah.
get online. And so I look at the world from lenses like that or through lenses like that, Danny, and I just go, wow. And that is not knocking a college education, by the way. I've got an
I'm with you.
advanced degree, right? You're an
I agree.
attorney, and because the social aspect, the higher learning aspect, it's wonderful. But if you're going to a 4-year college, spend 4 months really learning AI as part of that.
If we talked about leading indicators before being these enterprises who were masters of scale, where that scale is now debt structurally, we have institutional academic debt. That is a lagging indicator. It's not teaching you what actually is valuable. And so
Oh my
I
God.
fundamentally agree with what you're saying is that
Yeah,
you are not going to learn what is necessary by the time you're out of college if you go to a 4-year institution and only rely on that. You will learn other things. And so I'm not going to like tell people not to, whatever, that's up to them. You need to also do what you just said, which is learn how AI applies there so that you're ready for a changed environment, for how to wield those
absolutely.
assets.
Yep. And you know what? I will say that if those kids from 4 years ago who are graduating today had done that, right, might be a different world for them.
Absolutely.
Might be a different world for them. Danny, close us out. The name of your upcoming book is The Unfirm, the new unit of scale is you. Will that be on Amazon?
Yes, it's already out on Amazon.
Oh, good.
And it's available as an ebook, soft cover and a hardcover.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So close us out.
Oh no, you close us out. I'm a gentleman, and I'm a gentleman. I no look, John. This has been so much fun, and honestly, I am a people maxi. Look, I love people. I think you just don't be scared of stuff. Don't be scared and don't dismiss it. Be about reality, operating reality, and you can't delegate the things that you used to delegate because those structures are not there for you anymore, and that's empowering. But that comes with responsibility, with bearing your own risk. But everyone has always done it, and you can do it. And so that's that's how I'll take us
I
out.
love it. I love it. Embrace it, folks. Don't run from it. Embrace it because the more you learn, the more you learn.
That's right.
How's that for a deep
I
way to
love it.
end this thing, right?
I love it.
And the world is just full of opportunities these days, and we haven't even seen the tip of the iceberg yet. Danny, this was fun. Thank you for joining me. I would love to have you back sometime.
Yes, please.
Yeah, and folks, again, Danny Carpio, the name of his book is The Unfirm. The new unit of scale is you. Get his book, listen to this episode again, because there were so many amazing nuggets that Danny shared with us. And please share this episode, subscribe, because someone out there needs to hear some of the things that Danny just said, and is really looking for that hope that so many people are missing these days. So with that. Danny, thank you for all you're doing. I love you. God bless you. All of you out there, thank you for listening. I love you. God bless you. And we'll see you next time. Bye.